Hey, y'all, how often do you find yourself putting in a request to the universe, like you're putting food in a microwave, and you just want to hit 30 seconds and it be done? And the process is over, you get your food heated, you're on your way. And so here we are in midlife wanting microwave results from very slow cooker processes, maybe healing from divorce. Maybe it's rebuilding your identity after your kids are gone. Maybe it's changing jobs or careers, pivoting your career at midlife. Maybe it's letting go of the midlife weight. Maybe it's the physical weight, maybe the emotional weight. Maybe you're on a healing journey. We just want to push a button and get a result, especially in our world today with AI and the instant nature of everything. And I think that's why it feels so difficult at times to be here in the messy middle, because it runs counter to the ways that we're programmed in the rest of our world. We're in these slow, methodical, unfolding journeys, right? One door is closed, the other door hasn't quite yet opened, and we're just sort of stuck. Like, what do we do? So I just want to share with you a little more today about my own personal journey. And I'm going to use my journey of letting go of 50 pounds for good. And the reason why is because I think it so perfectly illustrates what happens in this slow cooker process. And our bodies are the one place we especially want instant results, right? The creams, the lotions, the potions, the diets. We want everything now, now, now. But the reality is that in order to create lasting change, you have to go through the steps of the journey. So I knew for years, I had done training as a food psychology coach around 2010, 2011. So fast forward, it's 2017. So I had the wisdom, I had the knowledge, I knew what to do. And so I would just sort of sit and bitch and complain, but then there was no real force acting upon me. It was just like, I want to do this. I didn't actually know how much weight I wanted to lose. I just knew I felt heavy. Deep down underneath it all, I mean, my life was fine, but I just felt heavy. And I don't think I've understood quite how that was manifesting until July 6th of 2017, when it just sort of clicked of like, oh my gosh, I'm so over this. I'm so over sitting here every morning in my morning pages writing about the same shit over and over and over again. It was like I was in this hamster wheel, this loop, and I couldn't ever figure out what solution was going to help me. But y'all, in that journey, what I came to understand is the shift I had to make had nothing to do with my body. The physical weight on my body was just merely a symptom of the larger weighting that I was doing in my life. The ways that I was using food to cope with my life, the ways I was using alcohol to cope with my life, the ways that I was sort of creatively stuck and weighed down. Like the physical weight on our body so often is just a symptom of something else that's happening. That's my belief anyway, especially coming from training as a food psychology coach, where we don't just look at the surface level, calories in, calories out. That's not it. And again, I'm just using this as an example to help you understand maybe this is something up for you. My guess is that it might be, given that we're all in the middle of this menopausal middle and changing bodies. And certainly hormones are a factor. But the weight that I carried emotionally, physically, creatively, financially, that was what was leading me to eat and drink and navigate my world in this really heavy, weighed down way. And so the real freedom came for me and starting to put the dots together that it was the WAIT, that what I really wanted and letting go of the physical weight was to gain new life, to lighten up in my life. The thing I had to do every single day was decide ahead of time. I decided ahead of time how I wanted to feel at the end of the day. I decided ahead of time what food I would eat for that day. I decided ahead of time how I would move that day or not, or rest. I decided ahead of time on Sundays and Wednesdays when I did meal preparations, what I would eat that week. Making these little decisions ahead of time, like setting out my clothes the night before going to the gym. All of these little bitty decisions ahead of time, kind of like gathering your ingredients to put in the slow cooker, were setting me up little step by little step to get to an end result, to make it just a little bit easier. I mean, I did this just today. I was making myself a breakfast taco, and I put all the ingredients together and I thought, oh, I'm just going to make me breakfast tacos for the week. So some of the breakfast tacos went into the freezer in little foil, that I can just pull out and heat up. And some are in the refrigerator. I even had the thought when I was making it, I said out loud, because I talked to myself, that's where we are now, living alone. I said, oh, my Wednesday self is going to be so happy that I put this taco together. Because making decisions ahead of time sets you up for future success. I am so thankful to my 2017 and 2019 and 2020, all these versions of me that took care of things so that I can continue to live in a healthy body now. And y'all, when we talk about a slow cooker process, there's nothing more slow cooker than getting to the end of our lives, hopefully in 40 or 50 years. I just had an appointment this week with my doctor, and we were looking over some lab work, and she was like, well, I just think about it as the turtle in the hare, and, like just this slow, steady thing. And I'm like, yeah, because I have every intention of living until at least 95, if not 100. I mean, that's my thought process. And I want to have a healthy life as an old lady. So the things that we do now, the investments that we make, the ingredients that we're putting into our slow cooker pot are what are going to help us get to the end of our lives in a healthy, hopefully healthy way. The other thing I will say in this journey for me, because weight was where I started, the physical process was where I started, because I knew for me at that time in my life, the physical weight was really getting in my way. Not because I couldn't move. I mean, I ran half marathons. I did all the things. This was not about body shaming. This was not about numbers. This was about thinking bigger than the size of my pants. Letting go of the physical weight was the byproduct of me starting to change my relationship with myself. It was about who I wanted to be in my life. How did I want the life force in me to show up and shine? How did I want to express in my one big, beautiful life? And through that journey, I realized that the best, really only place that I could have an impact was changing my mind. And that's a really, really key part of this. Because even in this journey of going through a really difficult, the most difficult season of my entire life, it has been a constant process of learning how to shift my mind and self-parent in a lot of ways to take care of myself. And that meant knowing when to ask for help, knowing when I needed extra therapy sessions, and knowing when I needed antidepressants, and knowing when I needed to do these things to take care of myself. So as we think about this, I want you to think about a journey in your own life. Maybe it's one you're in right now, where you're like, damn, I really just want to put this in the microwave of the universe, hit a button and just be done. I just want to be done. I want to be through the grief. I want to be on the other side of letting go of the weight. And we've got tools to do that. You could do all kinds of things to really quickly get a result. But the thing I would encourage you to sit with is that result lasting? Is that result going to be the result, the way that you live 10, 15, 20 years from now? Because I knew for me in this journey of lightening up, I wanted to let go of the weight for the very last time. That was it. I was done. I was done. When I wrote on July 6, 2017 that I was done waiting, I meant it was done forever. And y'all, it's been 8 years. It's been 8 years. It took me about 18 months to slowly, methodically let go of the weight. And since that time, I have kept it off. I'm not the same person. In fact, several years ago, I was in Portland seeing a friend, and she says, can I ask you a kind of a personal question? And I'm like, that's how we are with each other. Sure, of course. And she says, are you afraid? And I said, afraid of what? And she said, aren't you afraid of going back? Going back to like gaining the weight back? And I just laughed and I said, no. And she said, well, why? And I said, because I'm not the same person that I was when I started this journey. I've changed my relationship with myself. I've changed my relationship with food. I've changed the way that I view how I move through the world. adhere together at the rest of your story and through the work that I've got to offer in the world. I'm going to show you more through this journey how to do this for yourself, how to physically put feet to your prayers, to know how to lighten up for good, to get clear about what you're waiting for, to get clear. So y'all, as we move forward, there's really two things I invite you to consider. The first one of those is remember the law of gestation. If you've had a child, if you've had a garden, if you've written a novel, if you've put out a piece of art, you know there is a time and space continuum between when you have the idea, when the seed is planted, and the steps that it takes along the way to form the creation. Every living thing has this natural timeline. You can't rush a pregnancy. You can't force a seed to sprout in your garden. And the same is true of your own journey. You can't force the outcome. So this week, I just invite you to consider, where in my life am I demanding microwave results from a slow cooker process? So that's the first thing. And the second thing I would invite you to consider is, where are you at choice? This is also something I still say to myself, but especially in the season of lightening up for good, I said it to myself almost every hour of the day. I am at choice. I am at choice. Where am I at choice? Where are my choices? Where is my point of power within the choices that I have available to me? Because you always have a choice. Even feeling like you don't have a choice is a choice, because there's almost always something else that we can do. So for example, one of the things that I had to start shifting, well, I didn't have to, I chose to start shifting, was believing that the world was always putting food in my way. Like the person bringing the donuts to the office or the candy dish sitting there. Life was happening to me, food was happening to me, and I just didn't have choice. And I just was instantly act or have an urge and just instantly fulfill it. And one of the things that I really, really worked through, and again, this is something I will teach at some point, is how to start showing up to my food every day more mindfully. And this is not like intuitive eating. This is more about you making a decision ahead of time of, today I'm going to eat these things, whatever it is. And so when the donuts would show up at the office, I would be like, oh, I'd first feel that little victim-y voice of like, I can't have one. And then it was like, time out. 100%, you can totally have one. But I would stop. I would give myself 30 seconds at minimum to be like, let's sit with this. How will this decision make you proud? Will this choice make you proud? Is this something you chose to do today? And if you make the choice to have the donut, do so consciously. Don't eat the donut and then feel guilty on the back end. So what I would do is I would sit with it for 30 to 60 seconds and I'd give myself some space. I would feel all the feels of, oh my God, I need that donut right now. Little Lara would just going crazy. And then I would be like, okay, you got two choices, or you got more, but let's just boil it down to two. You can eat the donut, but then you don't allow yourself to feel guilty, consciously choose to not feel guilty, or you wait and plan for the donut tomorrow because you didn't plan for a donut today. Y'all, this was a game changer. Just putting this distance in the midst of our choices, taking a step back. It's kind of like having a child and putting them in timeout when they're all in a tizzy. Just letting them calm down and then choosing from there. And often, very often, I would be like, well, maybe I'll plan to have a donut tomorrow. I didn't. And so ultimately what I was retraining my brain to do is giving myself some space to be like, oh, I have all these choices available to me. I want to make the next best choice. And the next best choice didn't feel like a donut in my body. It felt like whatever else, or the things that I planned. But then when I would, for example, have something off plan, I'd be like, oh, I'm doing so consciously. So this week, I just invite you to catch yourself, if you can, somewhere in your world where you're feeling powerless. Maybe it is in the grief of your loss. Maybe it is in the changing dynamic of work or the changing dynamic of your identity, I would just invite you to catch yourself when you're feeling victimized, when life is happening to you, and stop and lovingly ask yourself, where am I at choice? Where am I at choice? And y'all, this practice, this one practice, if you take away nothing else from this video, I hope that you will take away this practice of remembering that you are at choice, because this is 1,000% a game changer, because this is how your identity starts to shift. So when my friend asked me in Portland that day, when I thought about, no, it seemed absurd to me that I would go back to my old way of being, because I gave myself time in my slow cooker process to become a new person. I gave myself time in this journey. I didn't care how long it took for me to let go of the weight for good. I didn't care, because I knew I wanted to be someone different on the back end. And that's the journey we're on here together. I'm not better than or less than now than I was then. I am a different version of myself, a more empowered version of myself, because now I know I'm always at choice. Lara in 2016 and back then didn't know that she was always at choice. Again, the world was often happening to me. I was not happening to the world. So y'all, as we close, I just invite you to consider, the bigger the journey that you're on, the bigger the transformation, the bigger the thing, the more time you need in your crock pot, the more time you need to simmer, the more time you need to just gently check the lid and see how things are going, and then close the lid and move on. And I know it's not easy. It's not. It's not easy, because what we want is this, the scratch and sniff sticker. We want to hustle and quickly get there and put our shit in the microwave and hit 30 seconds and be done. But unfortunately, there are no magic bullets. And I can't sit here in this channel and give you. What I can give you is encouragement and inspiration that this shit works. It works because I'm living proof. It works because it's the law of the universe. It's the law of gestation, right? It works because it works, but you have to work it. So as we close, consistency and choice. This week, as you move forward, I invite you to consider, how can I consistently show up? Decide a little ahead of time, maybe just a few choices ahead of time, right? Just going to set out my clothes to go do that yoga in the morning. I'm just going to pack an extra salad for myself for tomorrow instead of eating out. Little bitty baby steps. Be sure to hit subscribe. Maybe share this video, save it, watch it again. Most of all, have a beautiful week. You got this. I know you do. I'll see you soon.